You're watching WVIZ PBS. Idea Stream.
In 1973, one American family made television history. An American Family was a 12-hour documentary series that followed the real-life drama of the Loud family. Television audiences had never seen anything like it. During the filming, marital tensions between Bill and Pat led to divorce. And the oldest of the 5 children revealed himself to be gay. We witnessed all of this as the filmmakers who lived with the family.
Who's to say whether, what would have happened if you hadn't been there?
We remained friends with the Louds for 30 years.
This is a part of life that in a way I was accustomed to, and in a way I remember as being some of the best moments of my life.
The media responded to the series with unbridled criticism. Newsweek attacked the family's lifestyle as a glimpse into the pit and called the Louds affluent zombies. But the critics saved their harshest judgments for Lance Loud. The New York Times published a homophobic attack against Lance, calling him the evil flower of the family and a Goya-esque emotional dwarf. Despite the media assault, millions of viewers loved him. Lance represented a free spirit who dared to live his life on his own terms. He was the first openly gay person on television, and he became America's first reality TV star for just being himself.
When you have a family that agree to work with the camera this way, completely agree, could withdraw from it at any point they wanted to, were not asked to, to do anything. They couldn't, no one could take a picture they weren't willing to have taken. I don't see why we're voyeurs. I think the American family represents a new form which may be as significant for the understanding of human behavior as the invention of the novel.
Margaret, she was wonderful. I had to sleep with her to get that quote.
I'm still big. It's documentaries that got small.
After years of struggling with HIV and hepatitis C, Lance entered a hospice at age 50. He requested that we return to film his final days.
How do you like that old shot of it? That's me in the morning. This is me in the twilight. I've been here since the beginning of September. I've spent the entire summer being bounced around from hospital to hospital. Hepatitis C is a disease which I'm currently supposedly dying from. The doctors have basically written me off. They're at the stage where I go, well, how long do I have? And they go, well, everybody's going to die, Lance. I know that can't be good.
This film looks back on our 30-year journey with Lance Loud. It is a celebration and a cautionary tale. It is the final episode of An American Family.
I've kept my apartment but it's beginning to be a huge financial drag, even though it's only $400 a month. This is it. It's in Echo Park. It's on the side of a hill. It's a cul-de-sac. It's very quiet, as you can not hear. It's quite beautiful. I like this. This qualifies to me as beauty, but I'm sure I might have some people that would debate me on that. Anyway, I've come back here because my mom has been freaking out about it being here, and we had to get rid of it and move out and stuff. So she moved me out this weekend. I lived here for 5 years, 6 years, from the deepest, darkest part of my drug addiction to speed. I injected speed for almost 20 years. Not very smart. And by the end of it, I was like injecting what I knew to be rat poison, and I didn't care. I just had given up so much on life. Now, of course, that my life has been taken away, I totally regret it, and I love life and stuff. Besides my leg and my testicles and my edema and the fact that my liver isn't running anymore, still feel pretty good. And I still wake up in the morning excited, you know. Every day, I always wake up excited like it's my birthday, like it's something really neat. Of course, by the end of the day, it'd get back to me and, oh, I gotta sit down, I'm sorry. Oh.
What have your doctors actually told you is your life expectancy?
I could press them, but I don't want to press them. I don't want to become haunted or obsessed by a number. And I could easily.
You know, like if they said you had 6 months or something like that?
Yeah. Which sounds pretty good, too. And I want you there when they wheel me out. I don't know why I want to, explore this in a sensational way, but I do, and I don't really think about it that much. I got the idea that we try to do this project about 2-3 weeks ago. I called you the next day. It just came into my mind, and I thought, I can't leave the planet without some form of closure from the series, because I didn't think that the series, when last seen in the series, we were a desperate group. My parents were divorcing. I was heading towards drugs and slow destruction. Everyone was cut off from each other. And that's not the case of what it has become. I mean, we're still together. We still love each other very, very much. I want a happily ever after, and if it can't be mine, it can be someone in my family's.
Suddenly here I was, this character out of, a comic book strip. People would always immediately think of me as the person that dyed his hair and wore blue and came out on TV. We're going to the La Mama Theater tonight. And
reservations are very hard. They've been booked up for weeks.
What play?
Vain Victory with Jackie Curtis. It's the ultimate of the underground, honey. You'll just think it's so neat.
Like it.
Yeah,
Really.
Ondine, all the underground stars are in it. It's a big play.
All these wonderful people I've never even heard of.
Oh, I know, but you've dreamed of them. Holly! This is my mother, Mrs. Holly. Hi.
Hi, Molly. Nice to meet you.
Excuse me, just going in.
Oh, well, we're going to be back in a second.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
This is Douglas.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
Can we go back?
Yes.
My place tonight, Ellen. My place tonight, Ellen. Who is that lucky boy tonight?
Whoa, freaked out. Whoa. Over a couple of flipper hairdressers. We'll always be yours and mine.
the one-liners were so good, I couldn't believe it. Like, Candy Darling.
Well, I don't like things that make me feel uncomfortable and embarrassed, and it did.
Well, no, I just thought of it as a variety show, you know?
Yeah,
a transvestite variety show.
That's really what it is.
Well, it was certainly a grand entrance into New York, I want to tell you.
I know, what a day this has been.
When he told me he was staying at the Chelsea Hotel, I actually thought, oh, that sounds very quaint and English. And there's got to be a little old lady in a mob cap there with a bunch of keys on her belt who is making sure that everybody gets their cereal in the morning. So I go there, and not only do I encounter you with your cameras and sound equipment, and the halls reek of marijuana, and there's no little old lady in a white mob cap, and there's Holly Woodlawn instead. And, you know, it was just, I was shocked. I was in a state of shock. It was something that I was so unfamiliar with. It was a part of life that I was just boonswoggled. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I truly believe that that's the place for you. I mean, New York is, and I think that you have finally found an area that you...
Do you know what? It's so weird. Now that I look back on my life, as far as I've gotten, I keep thinking, God, I sure did some things that if I had been a grown-up and known about the things that I do, or I had done.
That you have done?
Well, it seemed to be like there was so much room for
improvement?
No. You're getting the wrong idea.
I'm sorry.
No. There was so much. I mean, I stood apart from everybody I could imagine. I stood apart from.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I was 13, I dyed my hair silver and did all that. Just think it was energy that was being wasted because. I don't know. It was like being a little mouse and trapped in a box in a little white room. I'm not saying that we led such, you know, a super average, ordinary life,
But you went into your room one year and you didn't come out for about 2 more years.
I know.
Except at night when you lurched out the window.
I know, but it was all frustration, you know. I felt so frustrated at being. There was so much that you guys could have done with me.
Like
if
what,
you had known, I don't know.
Good Lord, look at that. Do you want to go on and tell me what you were telling me about what you thought that... Come back. We could have done or didn't do and all that jazz. That fascinates me.
Well, I just feel like I've been born.
America has labeled that the moment when Lance Loud came out of the closet or declared his homosexuality. Do you believe that's true?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, I mean, we as a family were aware from very early on that Lance could have been, probably was gay. But he was so many other things, and the family, you know, it just, that part of it just sort of didn't matter. What mattered was that we loved him, and he was so lovable.
I said earlier that they never used the word homosexual in the publicity of the show, or I don't think it even came up during it. And yet you've given a couple of interviews in which you were quite frank about it. Is that hard to do in the year 1973?
No, I was actually surprised that they brought out the idea that sexuality, that homosexuality is something more than just liking to give kisses to boys on the sly, you know? I feel that the way they edited it, they made me seem obnoxious, and I really do get harder and harder to swallow during the entire series. I mean, not that I'm so outrageous, just that I'm so dedicatedly stupid, you know? Like, really, I really think I'm Mr. Cool.
On the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
24 hours a day.
Now, do you feel that you've been badly treated by the press?
Well, I don't know. Maybe some people enjoy swimming next to an electric eel, but
Oh, I don't understand that. What's that mean?
Oh, that refers to the New York Times Sunday article that was written about me.
Oh,
That's
yes.
the only one that really hurt me, but
Yeah.
I took 2 aspirin and it was gone. I liked the idea that people didn't like me and were upset. After a while, it definitely did wear on me. It was something that never went away, the preconceptions people had.
And all I could see were these turquoise blue eyes, and it looked like part of the kitchen had bitten you or something. But and I thought that if you were gonna wear eye makeup, you should do it subtly or colorfully. See, now you sort of look dead.
As soon as this was happening, I really didn't do those things to be like a woman or to be femme. I really thought that I was doing things that were terribly avant-garde and very different, and they were lined up in a way that there I was, a big fag. Being inspired by Andy, because it really does showing it here really does tie into, what I was all about at that time. I was so influenced by him in the idea of being outrageous. When they were filming, I was just so taken with. I felt like I was in, Chelsea Girls 2, the sequel, and his influence at a very early age in Santa Barbara was the same as. I really couldn't compare myself with him in that way, but throughout my life since the show, I've had countless people come up and thank me for being out and being gay, but just being out there on national TV and giving them some sort of solace when they felt either gay in lost suburbia or artistic in a terribly mundane landscape. He's sort of like the greatest father figure that did survive a generation which basically self-destructed. And he was always kind of parental, and that was great. That was one of the nicer things to come out of the series. That was one of the few realizations of a personality that I always wanted to meet.
Lance wrote to him, and strangely enough, Andy Warhol wrote back. One night in the middle of the week, kids were all in school. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and the phone rang, and this voice said, Lance is like 15, 16 at the time, and this voice said, "Is Lance there?" I said, "Yes, who is this?" He said, "It's Andy." And I said, "Oh." And I went in and got Lance, woke him up. Everybody sound asleep, and I handed him the phone. And I remember as I went out, I could hear Lance say, "Oh, nothing, I'm just sitting around in my room."
I started writing him every day and sending him these really, really bad letters and things that if I'd sent them to him today, I'm sure he would have gotten the police on me as a deranged fan. Because, wait a second, let's see, there's a real nutty part that, Andy, as you know, I am writing a movie, I'm 13. It has a message and I think would be an interesting view of society and conformity against individuality. It can be easily filmed, and if done right, could be a masterpiece. You may laugh. Well, that's tough, because it's a better movie than you have ever made, and I don't enjoy people laughing at me. So just listen. I had in mind that you will direct and semi-produce it with actors of your own choice. It has little sex, but could still be interesting to you if you tried.
Oh, Lancelot is really one of the cutest and most terrific kids around, and I always told him that he had the best band in town called the Mumps, and I just hate him for quitting so early and leaving the Mumps behind.
Peter Pan? I don't know any Peter Pan.
come star. Rock and roll, kiss the rock.
I had a rock band for 9 years. I was a lead singer in a band called the Mumps, and we went through all the rock and roll rigor of the mid-70s at CBGB's and in various rock and roll battlefields around America. I loved being in a rock and roll band, and I hated it. It was like being in, didn't get in the draft, and it was like actually being in some sort of war in the battlefront of America. Going to all those crazy clubs and fighting with people and fighting with the managers of the clubs and having the van break down at 5:30 on the highway back from Washington, and millions of memorable moments that were very horrible at the time, but I did value it. It was a great experience.
The Mumps' vision was that you were allowed to have a sense of humor, and we loved songs that were funny, and we loved any song that had, you know, a clever turn of phrase in it, and we liked to make ourselves ridiculous. That was kind of like the territory we staked out, as to be as over the top as possible. The Mumps was like the most exciting, most fun band I was ever in, and Lance was an incredible front man. He was an unbelievably great dancer at the same time as like he would suddenly fall over on his back unintentionally in the middle of a song, you know, and he would be sweating profusely. He could make his sweat just flop onto whoever he wanted in the audience. He just loved being on stage so much, and he loved what we were doing, and we were well received everywhere we went and got good reviews, and ended up slowly but surely building up a following in New York to where we could consistently sell out Max's and CBGB's, and we went to LA, and we went to San Francisco, and we played all these different places, and we played with all the fabulous bands. You know, we did have a decline at the end where, because we didn't get the record contract, we started to be bitchy towards each other. There wasn't an easy angle for us to be sold other than the weird band that fag from American Family has.
The band members were always very paranoid about me being from an American Family, and since they were straight, they were, you know, very upset about being involved with the guy who had come out on TV. After putting all that time into it, it was very discouraging. It was something that I really expended a lot of energy and hope and trust and belief, and it was really bad after the band just finally sputtered and died. The band really, literally like a Model T Ford, just rattled to a stop, and all the fender fell off and the door fell off and the ceiling caved in. It was just general frustration. I don't believe in the dreams that I had then. That's true. Things do change, unfortunately.
When the Mumps broke up, that was, I think, the lowest point in Lance's life. I think that's when he really lost a sense of direction. He lost a lot of hope.
Lance often speaks as that being the biggest, most crushing blow of his life.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I'm sure it was. I know it was, and I believe that at that point, that's when he really got into the crystal meth, and I think that's when he got really hooked.
God. Packing at 4 in the morning to leave for LA tomorrow. It's no honeymoon. Okay, America, I've just come out of the closet. Okay?
I want to know, do you really think that being filmed and scrutinized and broadcast and media celebrities and having to sum up your life, do you find this normal?
I can see it as unusual in other people's lives, but for me, this is just another part of the norm, you know. And it's not like I'm such a big star or anything, but you know, this is a part of life that in a way I was accustomed to, and in a way I remember as being some of the best moments of my life is, you know, sharing with you guys. We all had some crazy, we all were in like some incredible moments together, and I used to be so prone, before the series, I never cared about, you know, what people thought of me. I remember when you guys were filming it, you would take me aside and you'd say, you know, Lance, being big brotherly like you are, you'd always say, you've got to worry about what people are going to think about you. And I was with blue lipstick and combs in my hair, la 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 la, oh, Alan, I don't care. After the series came out, it was like, boom, putting me on the spot. You are what you are. And, you know, the people, it got bad even for the people that liked me, because the people that liked me from the series would expect me to be a certain way. I wasn't. I was just a normal guy that had been made brief and to the point by editing. And in the series, it wasn't that brief or that to the point. But nonetheless, it's a great contact with reality for me. I think that, you know, for the last long time, I've been living in a very private world. I don't have a public life anymore, and I was surprised when you guys started doing this show that it came so naturally to me not to be a ham, which of course I am, but to be so at ease with, you know, feeling like it doesn't make me look any better. I'm sure I'm not going to come off as any glamour guy or any brilliant guy, but I feel at home within, you know, the vernacular of real time, the time that you guys create. You know, I don't know. You know, there is a certain amount of anxiety and stuff one feels when you leave New York and you're not rich and famous. When I go to LA, I'm going very Nathaniel West. I'm going to go anxiety at dawn with that horrible Hollywood sign coming up in the distance, sitting at some typewriter. Going back to California, I could never believe it, and I don't even like LA, but it provides a certain amount of complacency that, I don't know, it gives me strength not to go off into the red again.
And I was amazed at the variety of things he wrote about and the sheer numbers of articles he wrote. He wrote a great deal. He wrote right up to the time he died. He wrote for Circus magazine, and he wrote for Cream. He wrote for Interview, and he wrote for all the major magazines, Details, Vanity Fair. He had a column in The Advocate called Out Loud. There's one called Loudspeaker for Interview. He had a career, I would say, almost 30 years.
He was best at certain kinds of journalism that revolved around pop culture and its critique and talking to people. He was a brilliant interviewer. A lot of times he just walked in the room and they knew who he was. And that was a major, major way of breaking the ice with a celebrity, because they had seen him grow up on television. He was great one-on-one with people, but he was also great at collating material from a variety of sources and putting it together in this format that we used to call the oral history. And we developed that into a magazine format, and Lance did a number of those, one of which was on the making of Blade Runner from Details, October 1992. Because I knew Lance personally, I could actually hear the voice in my head when I read the pieces, so I could hear the turns of phrases, I could hear the slight sarcasm, the rush of words, the Hun kind of thing that he did so well, the way that he expressed himself.
It was only a couple days later when I awoke one afternoon in Cedars-Sinai Hospital. I'd been found in a mud puddle near the Echo Park Lake at 4:30 in the morning. I had accosted nurses and hospital staff at the hospital, obviously acting under the spiritual guidance of Susan Hayward in I Want to Live. I ripped the IV needles leading into both my arms out. Blood, more blood. The doctors told me I should stay in the hospital, but I was having none of it. I stuck it out back at home, me, the cats, and my little wooden house in the wilds of Echo Park. This is an excerpt from an upcoming article I'm writing for The Advocate about what I learned this year, which was a pretty big mindfold.
So how would you like the story to end, Lance?
They find a magic cure and I live happily ever after. I don't know. It's a "this is what it is" tale. And I think that unless you're a certifiable moron, you're going to figure out it's going to have some sort of cautionary vibe to it, don't you think?
I mean, the drugs totally screwed up his writing career, because he would get a project, or he would have an assignment for a writing article, and he would write, and he would start out and he'd have it all outlined, and he'd do all his research, and he'd get everything going, and he'd be like 3/4 of the way through, and then he would start to panic, and he would think, oh, I'm on deadline, I have to do some speed. So then he would do speed, and then of course he would write 10 endings for the article. He'd have 10 different ways to end it. And he'd start shuffling it around, and you know, any one of the 10 endings that he picked would have been fine, you know, but he would get more and more frantic. The article would get turned in later and later, and it would always be a mess, you know. I don't think you would ever think of Lance as a recreational drug user. I mean, he didn't just get a little high, he got a lot high.
He needed drugs. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but he had ADD, and he needed some form of drug to keep him sort of even keeled. I know that you know, sometimes children are given Ritalin and it calms them down, you know, ADD kids. His use of meth in small quantities, he believed, would relax him and make him focus. But, you know, just like his personality, which was go, 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 he just continued going and going and going with the speed, and it eventually made him wild. When you saw the pure essence of him not on drugs, which you could see for long, long stretches of time, you know, a few years here, a few years there, he would really rein it in. He would rein it in. He had a manic sensibility that was that he was unable to control, and tremendous periods of depression, tremendous periods of depression and self-doubt and self-hatred. He could never come to grips with what he has done and with the kind of road that he has ripped in life and torn apart and chewed up a lot of people along with it. And he was a Venus flytrap.
I think the cautionary tale that this tells is when you take a condition of fame and you place that upon an ordinary person's shoulders, they can respond in any number of ways. Because he wore fame, and he wore being a role model, and he wore being a gay man, and he wore being a brave soul. like it was a piece of chiffon, when in fact it was really a very heavy piece of armor for him. And it weighed a lot, and it was very, I think, difficult. He never really showed it, but I think it was difficult for him to be that person and to trudge through life, because it had been made so easy for him in the beginning. He was a full-blown entity. He was a force of nature to be reckoned with. By the age of 20, he had done his masterpiece. He'd created it by merely existing and letting somebody capture it on film.
What's wrong, honey? Huh? Oh, honey. Oh, Zilla. She knows she's being left behind. It's just rotten. What, honey? Huh? Yeah, honey, I know. Oh, baby. I had her since she was a little kitten. She survived everyone, too. Oh. No, it never became the, you know, I was always a very family-oriented guy, even though I didn't know that, but, you know, I thought family was, you know, part of life that you grew through and that you went on from, but for me that wasn't true, and neither was it the truth for any of my family. And so when I got to be in my 40s, I did desperately want to have a family outlet. And even though I was gay and I didn't have kids of my own or anything, you know, I kind of envisioned something a little bit more communal and giving and loving and happy together. And didn't work. It just didn't work. I got sick about the time I was realizing this, I was, you know, getting sick and coming down with strange diseases and going insane, and, you know, people say, well, you know, Lance, you should never feel bad about what you've done in your life. But I'm not sure I agree with them. I mean, especially a life lived as mine was in kind of pursuit of this nameless, indescribable feeling of fun that I never really found, but that I was hoping would come along in my, you know, travels, but I never did.
hotel.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
this is much more 1920s.
No, it isn't. This is my star. This is Christine Dior.
Well, this was 69 cents.
This was 68 cents. It was marked down from $2.50.
Well, mine's been 68 cents for longer than I care to remember.
You know, it's when he says that he feels like he's getting better, you don't want to say to him, well, you're not really. You don't, because it's his own process, you know. He has to, I mean, you can kind of say to him, look, you're not going to get any better. I think he pretty much knows he's in a hospice, and I think he's trying to enjoy whatever life there is. As painful as it's been, I think it's been a good process for him, only because I think he's kind of settled a lot of things. I think getting rid of his house, for anybody to see all of his cats and his possessions given away, and I just think that must have been so heartbreaking for him, but he still, you know, he kept going on and kept having that will.
Shell is here, I can start the day. It's true, that was a blessing, a great moment when you walked through the door. Hello.
Hi there, Lance. How are you?
Good, how are you? Good. Hey, Dad.
Hey, my man.
How are ya?
I just, no interrupted you. I was just going to give you a call.
Oh, my God.
I was just thinking about you riding on your bike from Wooddale down by the cathedral there, you know, Santa Barbara.
How well I remember.
You remember you come blasting down there with your arms straight out?
Well, I was an athletic transsexualist.
You were just an all-American boy, is all. An all-American boy.
There's not a sign of life, but a crazy doctor has got the chemicals to stimulate the heart.
I had to take these out. I didn't want you to get the wrong idea.
No, I don't have the wrong idea, sweetie.
Wait a second. This is really. Kevin, take another picture of me. Listen, ready? I have to get out of the picture. Ready?
Listen, how many film are in there?
Take
you want
another
to go
together.
like just
No, guys. I want to take it of us together.
Okay.
And you better take it good.
Wonderful shaving lotion you have on. That really is. That's really got the essence of it.
It's cinnamon and gardenia, and there's one called Mystic Veil. Okay, ready?
Are we in focus, Kevin?
Sure.
Focus?
1, 2.
Do you feel now, in 1983, you're more accepting of his lifestyle than you were?
No, I detest his way of life. No, I have no sympathy for his way of life. I have no sympathy. I think it's very unhappy. I don't see any of them ever. I can't say that. Maybe the guys are happier than there are people that are married. So who am I to say? But no, I can't. But he's my son, and you have to do the best you can.
I love you, son, and give my love to Alan.
Okay. Okay, love you, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Bye. He has turned into a tremendously caring, loving individual. He is not the beast he was 30 years ago, or even 30 months ago. You know, he's become really a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Okay, well, you know, words can't express how you feel when you lose a child. Last year he came down to Houston. We went to the battleship Texas, which he was pretty interested in, surprisingly enough. It was happy and carefree all the way. It's a wonderful experience being with him. So you don't cry out loud, but at night I find myself tearing up pretty well. So it's you tell yourself, well, time wounds all healed, but so it's a catch-22. If you think about them, it's one thing. If you don't think about them, it's something. You think of what you should have done when he was a young man. There was an age of innocence in the boy, in the man boy. Everyone says, you know, you shouldn't go back and think about what you should have done. But I never realized that he was such a sensitive boy, and that I should have, my 50s establishment dadism was forget about it, you know, life is tough, get on with it. And I should have gone with his more sensitive side.
I want you to get on the bed and snuggle me.
Boy.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
Oh. Oh, it's not embarrassing, Mom. At this point in our lives, this is not embarrassing.
No, a good snuggle is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with a good snuggle.
Mom inherited a,
Yeah.
Mom's father was called, or no, Mom's mother had a nickname called the Depot Stove. And she was always so warm and comforting to Grandpa, and that all he had to do in the night when he got cold was reach up and touch a foot to her body, and it would just heat up as toasty as toast. Let's cry now.
Yeah, just have a little weep. No tears.
No tears. When the Louds love, they love long and deep. About 6 feet deep.
Oh, honey.
The reason I am doing this is because Lance wanted me to do it. And if there's any good that can possibly come out of any of this terrible, terrible thing, it is that people will say what a brilliant, wonderful boy he was. Just a minute. And his death wasn't necessary. That people should have safe sex, that people shouldn't take drugs, and I think that's what the good that might come out of this.
When the artist is alive in any person, whatever his kind of work may be, he becomes an inventive, searching, daring, self-expressive creature. He becomes interesting to other people. He disturbs, upsets, enlightens, and opens ways for a better understanding. Where those who are not artists are trying to close the book of life, he opens it and shows there are still more pages possible. Today's event is about people for whom Lance kept the book open and wrote pages in the book of their lives.
I'd like to take a few minutes to share what might immediately not come to mind when we think of Lance, and that is his incredible love for women. Lance and I would always laugh thinking how husbands and lovers would come and go, but he was the only one macho enough to hang in there with me. For better or for worse, when things got messy, ugly, or too real, and straight men could only run for the hills. No man I've ever known, and I've known a few in my day, knew how to really appreciate what was good about a woman, go directly with his red beetle boots clicking like Dorothy, and go straight to the cool and rock the very essence like only Lance can. I am sure you know Lance is a paradox, beautiful and ugly, a loner and a social butterfly, ultra-private, world-class gossip, oozing romantic, bitter acid realist, a rebel, stylized traditionalist, lighthearted and free, yet deliciously melancholy and morbid, until that got too boring or the phone rang. Lance never took life for granted. He was both fearless and vulnerable, and I am comforted to know that he always knew that life is short and never missed a beat. I am thankful for every fabulous and horrible moment I had with Lance.
This is Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and Lance would always say that I was somewhere over the top. And he was certainly somewhere over the top as well. An intro, mother. Intro. Goodbye, Lance.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, look at all you arrive out of being alive. And here is the best part, you have a head start if you're among the very young at heart. We're not trying to be perfect, right, man?
Had enough? If you've enjoyed our close encounter with the ordinary, we are pleased to announce that the saga continues in 300 years of the Louds. Will Delilah marry? Will Lance get a steady job? Will Bill become a Democrat? This volume, encased in plush leatherette, answers these questions and more than you'll ever want to hear about the family that refused to die. Ideal for parties, perfect for those can't-sleep nights. The life, the loves, the long silences of the Louds are available to you now at a price you can afford. Your mind. In your darkest hour, the Louds await you.
To learn more about Lance Loud, visit PBS online at pbs.org. To order a VHS copy of Lance Loud, A Death in an American Family, call 1-800-343-5540.
This program was made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.